Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for coming in honor of Dr. Stephen's memorial. I'd like to start by calling upon the stage Kieran for the eulogy.
Tell you a little bit about my dad. He was very passionate about a lot of things. He loved carpet collecting, cycling, magic, Japanese knife sharpening, and countless other slightly obscure activities. But most of all, he loved fly fishing. So much so that he bought us a timeshare holiday home in the mountains, which specializes in fly fishing for trout. I remember the many, many hours my dad invested into teaching my sister and I how to fly fish. For those of you who don't know, fly fishing uses artificial flies instead of live bait. Originally, my dad let us practice with real flies, many of which he had created himself. However, after several mishaps, including one incident where he accidentally caught me instead of a fish, he decided it would be best to practice in the garden with a set of keys at the end of the line. My sister and I tried our best to master the techniques, but ultimately, we were never able to live up to those of my dad's. Furthermore, we were both very impatient and almost always got distracted by something halfway through our lessons, running away to do something else instead. Nevertheless, my dad never hesitated to take us both with him on his fishing trips. Now, you have to understand, Priyanka and I were, and probably still are, very, very noisy children. I'm sure that our voices scared those poor trout away before we even took out our fishing rods. And in the unlikely event that we were able to stay quiet, I'm sure that the repetitive striking of the fishing line on the water's surface scared all of the fish within a 5-mile radius away. Throughout all of this chaos, which I'm sure most fly fishermen would consider to be terrible misconduct of their craft, my dad remained completely and entirely calm. He spent almost all of his time untangling our fishing lines, casting our lines for us, or rescuing the expensive flies which we accidentally lost in nearby trees and bushes. And after all of this chaos, my dad would simply sit down quietly by himself, content to watch us run around the dams looking for other interesting creatures. He now had absolutely no chance of catching anything at all, but he didn't care. He only got 2 weeks a year fishing in our special place in the mountains, but he'd always choose to forego his plans to spend a quiet afternoon fishing by himself in the river, in order to spend quality time with my sister and I at the dams. He did this for 14 years, despite us not paying attention to his casting lessons and lowering his chances significantly for catching any fish at all. He still spent all of his time teaching not only my sister and I, but also all of our friends who came along with us as we got older. He never saw us as a hindrance to the limited time he had allocated to one of his favorite pastimes. He just loved spending time with us. And although he may not have caught as many fish as he had hoped for, he created precious memories which I will hold on to for the rest of my life. Now, this story is not an isolated event. I can guarantee that if you ask anyone who knew my dad to tell you about him, they'll recount times where he acted with other people's best interests at heart rather than his own. He never put himself first, always prioritizing the needs of his loved ones. His never-ending patience and deep-rooted need to help those around him drove every action of his life, even when nobody noticed his silent acts of kindness. He may no longer be around to teach my sister and I how to be good human beings, but his actions, values, and morals will forever be instilled in us. I'm certain that all of the memories I have of him will continue to teach me valuable lessons about growing up, no matter how old I get. Although it may be hard, or even impossible, to embody the kindness, patience, and complete selflessness of my dad, I will spend every day trying to live up to his legacy and make him proud of the daughter he raised. Some of you may not know this, but my dad actually suffered an aortic aneurysm when I was 5 and my sister was 3. I am now about to turn 19 and my sister is 16. And we are both truly grateful for the extra 13 years we got to spend learning from him, laughing with him, and being loved by him. I will leave you with a quote from my dad's all-time favorite fictional character. So much so that he actually named our Wi-Fi after him. This is from Luke Skywalker, who says, "No one's ever really gone." Thank you.
I'd like to call upon the Vice Chancellor, Professor Yusuf Hayek, to the stage, please.
Good afternoon. I came to know Stephen for a year now, or 2 years. During this period, I found him really genuine and really caring about the university, about the program. In the summer, I was shocked to find out that he took upon himself to teach 4 courses, despite the fact that we only allow 2 courses per faculty during the summer. But that give the impression that he really cared about providing the students with what they need and for what they need. And for that, the university really in deep appreciation and gratitude for what he already provided to his students. Also, I got to know him during the development of the College of Public Policy. He was initially not in favor, I guess, and he gathered all his colleagues around it. But once he understood the merit of that development, I think he was an active person to make it a successful story for the university. For that, he will be greatly missed by all of us at the university. And for the family, our deep sympathy for your loss. And we hope that if there is anything that the university can provide for you, don't hesitate. Abigail, you already know where is my office. Abigail will be with us for another year. Hopefully, during this period, the daughter will be able to finish her high school successfully and regain their life during the period after Stephen. As I said, if there is anything that the university can provide, please don't hesitate. We are always gonna be here to support and help you go through this very difficult transition period that all of us gonna be one day subject to. Sorry about your loss one more time, and with best wishes for you going forward. And as I said, Stephen will always have special place within the university. Thank you.
And for now, I'd like to call upon Priyanka as she has written a poem about her beloved father, Dr. Stephen.
I didn't actually write the poem, but good afternoon. This is a poem from Scott Hazelhurst and his wife Joni. It's written by Ruth Whitman. If my boundary stops here, I have my daughters to draw new maps on the world. They will draw the lines on my face. They will draw the lines with my gestures, my voice. They will speak my words, thinking they have invented them. They will invent them. They will invent me. I will be planted again and again. I will wake up in the eyes of their children and their children's children. They will speak my words. Thank you.
And now I'd like to call upon Dr. Stephen's wife, as she'll be reading 2 tributes from his best friends.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Abigail, and thank you for coming, and thank you for joining us in this celebration of Stephen. I forgot my glasses, but I'm reading out of this first tribute is from Dean Pittman, Stephen's childhood friend. He writes, I first met Stephen when our family moved to Edenvale from Arno Power Station. The Louws lived diagonally across the road from us. Stephen was a year older than me and had a brother, Brian, a year younger than me. And my sister was a year younger than Brian. Initially, it was Brian and I who became best friends. We attended Cubs together, went to wood carving classes, and generally terrorized the neighborhood in the afternoon and over the weekends. Brian's sudden and untimely death around the age of 6 changed Stephen's and my relationship. I clearly remember it started just a few days after Brian's death, when Stephen and I was sitting in my garden working on trying to finish the wood carving that Brian had started. We never spoke about what happened. There was an unspoken understanding and a shared sense of grief. And from then on, we became brothers. I would tag along with him and his friends, and they would tease me as the youngster and pick on me. But Stephen would stand up and offered me and defended me as my big brother. We went on holidays together, hung out in the afternoons, and when Stephen moved to Eden Glen High School, a year after I started, my big brother and I now were at the same school. And so it was that Stephen, Warren, David, and I became the Culture Kids. We formed a band, raced our bicycles, dressed in the terrible 80s styles, and spent many hours at the Louw's, which became my second home. His mother, Vera, would patiently put up with all of our antics. Many hours were spent in the pool, setting up in the enormous, sorry, I can't see that well. Setting up in the enormous willow tree, lying on the roof of the house, watching planes fly over, allowing us to spend hours in band practice, and letting us sit afternoon after afternoon, drinking coffee and listening to music on their state-of-the-art sound system. While all of this was happening, his long-suffering father, Bert, would quietly shake his head and disappear into the garden to potter with his hydroponics or to read a book. It was Stephen who introduced me to the world of popular music, from the Rolling Stones to Jaluka, the Beatles to the Doors, and most importantly, Pink Floyd. His taste and collection of music was eclectic. Nothing was out of bounds. We would explore the world of classical music, jazz, heavy metal, punk. No genre was excluded. Stephen also introduced me to electronics and computers. I learned to shoot pellet guns in his garden, learned to ride a motorbike there. I would sneak my mum's Mini out of our driveway and would drive it around their garden with Stephen as my driving instructor, much to the gardener Lewison's displeasure. Stephen, or Dr. Louw, as we used to call him, also encouraged me to read, to keep up with politics, to not be afraid to stand up for what is right. At university, I was again the younger brother. Stephen, who was a year ahead of me, was already involved in campus politics. He made sure that I too was involved. He was involved with the Voice of Wits. He had me help with lugging speakers and amps for outside events, and his skills were quickly recognized by professional audio companies who tried to recruit him. Stephen drove a truck in his free time to earn money, one of the few positive skills that he had acquired while doing his national service. On that score, he became very involved in the end conscription campaign, which had several runs in with the security police. As inevitably happens, I saw less of Stephen than I would have when I finished varsity. My work in theater was very time-consuming, and I was often away. I remember sitting at the window in my temporary office in Paris, looking over the River Seine to Notre Dame in the distance, with the rain falling and thinking, why am I here? I should be at Stephen and Abigail's wedding, which is happening today. Marriage and fatherhood brought Stephen a great deal of pride, joy, and contentment. His love for Abigail, Kiran, and Priyanka was always on show for all to see. Though we never got to do it often, our fly fishing times were often spent talking about the happiness we found in family life. We didn't get to spend enough time together these past few years, to my great regret. There are many stories I'd love to share with you, a lifetime's worth, about pet snakes, skateboards, living in a caravan, bunking school, pigeons, toothpaste, and public telephone handpieces. The list goes on and on. Stories about the boy and young man that Stephen was. I just wanted to end with a little story about a very young Stephen, which to me encapsulates the person he was. The Louws were on holiday in the Kruger Safari Park and were driving up the winding road that leads up to the lookout point at Renosterkoppies. Bert suddenly stopped the car as there was a snake crossing the dust road. Vera told me that the next thing she heard was one of the doors back doors opening. Stephen hopped out and walked in front of the car, gently reached down, picked up the snake, and carried it across the side of the road. The snake didn't coil up, didn't strike out or wiggle free, but was quite content to let him carry it to the other side. The family were never able to identify the snake, and things could have ended terribly. But I think that the snake could sense the deep level of caring that I always found in Stephen, the gentleness, the compassion, and love. I will miss my older brother. Sending lots of love, Dean Pittman. The next tribute is from Lionel Brenner and his wife, Vicky. My first introduction to Stephen was most memorable. Prior to the millennium, I was summoned to a meeting by Vicky to meet with Steve, Abby, Claire, and Saul. The objective of the meeting was for Steve to promote our plans for visiting Mongolia and traveling part of the Silk Route. For context, Steve included a circulation of a very beautiful book written by some forgotten BBC journalist who had done the trip from Ulaanbaatar to somewhere. Although the pictures were very enticing and Steve's passion for the ancient Silk Route was very impressive, the book highlighted certain challenges concerning diet, cold, and general sacrifice. After short consideration, we opted out of the Silk Route and settled on the Spice Route. Notwithstanding the disappointment of the change in plans of our holiday, Steve organized our trip to India with typical commitment, enthusiasm, and energy. As common with all our holidays spent with Steve and his family, we had a great time experiencing new experiences, tasting new foods, and visiting more capricious carpet museums than imagined. Steve was immersed in studies of mining safety for Anglo-American. He would actively debate the inequities of trade-offs of managing performance bonuses and mine safety. At the time, I was setting up a multidisciplinary team to promote aquaculture as a response to mining rehabilitation of one of the De Beers diamond mines. Our focus was in a remote area in South Africa, the Namakwa land, in Kleinzia. Steve immediately seized on the opportunity. This was a world far removed from political science in Johannesburg, and he dived into an adventure of a rather challenging and intricate journey into the world of mining legacies, communities, sustainable developments, and of course, abalone farming. Abalone is a large sea snail found off the coast of South Africa and is often poached for sale in the East. It is expensive, highly priced meat and is considered a culinary delicacy. Steve navigated this complex road with typical enthusiasm and passion, and soon acquired a profound knowledge of all things abalone. With much skill, Steve would unravel the entanglements of the mining environment and produce insightful feedback reports to the management team. Unfortunately, we didn't possess enough insight when exploring the areas around mines and found ourselves spending inordinate amounts of time digging our totally unsuitable vehicle out of sand roads which abounded. We have been privileged to have experienced his kindness, wit, and his everlasting intellectual curiosity. We all deeply miss Stephen's youthful and optimistic spirit of adventure and his quest to introduce us to the art of enjoying life. We are certain that Steve's legacy will persist in the lives of Abby, Kiran, and Priyanka. Thank you. That was from Lionel Brenner and his wife, Vicky.
And now I'd like to welcome Priyanka on stage, who will be talking about a South African
This song, Asim Bonanga, the band Savuka, was chosen by Lucy Cannell. She wrote this explanation of the song, and I will read it out. This song was written in 1987 at the height of apartheid repression of organized mass uprisings. It became a popular anti-apartheid anthem and was permanently banned by the state. The isiZulu word Asimbonanga means we do not see him and alludes to Nelson Mandela, who had been in prison for almost 3 decades by that time. Most South Africans did not even know what Mandela looked like because all the photos of him, even those taken when he was a young man, had been banned. The song is a beautiful lament of loss and longing for freedom. I can imagine that Stephen hummed along and that the song gave him strength in his own defense of repression and racism. And now we lament for the loss of our beloved Stephen. It is a fitting tribute. Asim Bonanga. Stephen, we will meet again. Thank you.
And now I'd like to welcome Dr. Stevens' colleagues to share some words and memories, starting from the right side, please. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So let me just start off by extending my deepest condolences to the family, to Abigail, to Kieran and Priyanka. I know that the loss is being felt by everyone profoundly, but, obviously none more so than his immediate family. So, our prayers and thoughts are with them first and foremost. What can I say about Stephen? I've known him for about 5 years. Time has gone by very, very quickly, actually. But you run out of superlatives really to describe him as a man because he had so many great characteristics. He was, I would say, one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. I'm not particularly young anymore, so it's quite a statement to say that he is one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. And I echo the statement made by his daughter that he always put others before himself. He was a selfless man. I mean, this is something that we can learn from him, in terms of his legacy, what he's left behind, that he never put himself first. He always put others before himself. And that's a great trait to have. And beyond that, I mean, some of you guys, of course, obviously only known him as a professor, but I knew him as a person as well and as a dear friend. And of course, I saw another side to Dr. Stephen as well. He had a great sense of humor, absolutely great sense of humor. So we would always sort of send messages to one another on WhatsApp, trying our best to make each other laugh. And it was just great banter to have in this, being here in this country, away from our home country, to have that little bit of, laughter in amongst, the stresses of everyday life. So I'm really, really missing that already. And obviously I will continue to miss that relationship that I had with him. And moreover than that, he actually was a man of great integrity as well. In many ways, I mean, we know from his youth how he was, a conscientious objector to the apartheid regime at that time. For a white man to take that position was very, very virtuous in South Africa at that time. It would have been easier to stay quiet. So it says a lot about the man that when he sees injustice, that he's willing to stand up against it, and he's willing to risk everything in order to see that justice prevails. And he continued to do that in other forms throughout his career and his life after that point. So what can I say? We'll miss Dr. Stephen in every way, as a professor, as a husband, as a father, and for me personally, as a dear friend and a brother. And of course, we can only pray for him and his soul that he's in a better place now. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. And my thoughts and hearts go to the family. I was with them at the hospital when Stephen was declared dead. And they showed remarkable strength and submission to the will of God. And I would pray to God to continue to give them that strength through this mourning. Stephen was a very decent human being. You cross his path and he would care for you. He loved this place, he loved the students, and he loved his colleague. I remember when he came from South Africa, 2019, I was head of the department then. One day he came to my office and we were chatting, and during the chat, he told me that he loved this place. And then I asked him, Stephen, why you like this place? He said that because I was impressed with the student respect and warmth they showed towards me. And he reciprocated that strength, that warmth, and respect and love. He was a dear friend, he was a leader, and he was a colleague. And as a leader, Stephen was showing remarkable human skills, the skills to motivate people around him, the skill to communicate with people, and the skill to solve problems. He was not domineering, he was not bossy, He was an active listener, a kind and compassionate human being, and a leader. And the time when he was head of the department, we did not have any tension in the department because of these good human qualities. He was gone, but he would want us to continue the work that he began. And my colleague and I are determined, very determined, to continue the good work that Stephen began. And I want our students to rest assured, and also our leader, His Excellency, Professor Yusuf Haik, to rest assured that we are determined to complete the work that he started. And he would want us to do that, and we will do that. Rest in peace, good friend.
Hi, everyone. I think when I was talking to my students about Dr. Stephen and about today, one of the things that I wanted was for them to show up here so that his family could see the love for him. And you look around the room, it's packed. You look at the number online, I saw 75 people at one point. I think it's just evidence of the impact this man had on people. We could sit up here and say the pleasantries. The thing is they're real. Like, this man was good to the core. And it was just blatantly obvious from the moment you met him. And the things, like the stories he told me about what he did across his life, phenomenal. That all coming from his political activism, his, like willing to put himself at risk and go to jail for it to help people, period. Phenomenal. What an amazing man. Coming here, one of the things that made my transition here easier was him. We immediately became friends. There was a connection in the way we saw the world, the way we saw the university, the way we saw life. And it touched my heart. And I got to spend a day that's one of the most etched in my memory for the rest of my life. Stephen took me hiking in the mountains here. And just to get to the place where we were getting was an adventure. And then to go on this day hike, he and I seeing the world and the beauty of it, and me knowing that I was with somebody who saw it the same way that I did, was tremendous. Like, to have that kind of connection. And I think he made that connection with his students. He made it with all of our colleagues. It was just clear. Star Wars. Okay. When for those of you who don't understand, Star Wars is life. All right. It's something big. It was a part of my childhood in a way that I can't describe. And the second that I knew, and I learned this, I think, before coming here, the second that I knew Stephen was a Star Wars man like me, and that he made sure his daughters understood the importance of Star Wars, I was connected, because I did the same for my daughter. And I absolutely loved his daughters laughing and telling me the story about the Wi-Fi network. I'm like, oh my God, so funny. And so what I'll close with is probably the most famous quote from Star Wars is, I will say, Stephen, peace be with you.
Hello. It's my deepest condolences to the family. I met Stephen 5 years ago when he joined Sharjah University, and we've been colleagues for 1 year. Even though I left Sharjah, we continued to be in contact. We've been friends. Even so, we haven't met until last May, when Stephen came to Abu Dhabi on a conference, and I thought this is an opportunity and we had to meet each other. I'm going to be brief. I don't want to spend a lot of time here. But when we met in May, we obviously discussed the news of the department, but we also discussed our families. And Stephen was worried about his 2 daughters, that they're teenagers, they finishing school, and he wanted you guys to go to the university and continue. Because I have the same issue, I have kids, and the kids are teenagers, they're not very serious. So I would like to address to Kiran and Priyanka. You have a great father to uphold his legacy to, so please make everything possible to honor his memory by following in his footsteps. And Abigail, it's very, very heavy responsibility on your shoulders to make sure that the girls follow and uphold the memory of their father. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Abi and daughters, if I may call you Abi. Informal way. No, I am talking about this. I would like to be informal way, you know. We have known each other in absence mostly. I am not from the Department of International Relations. I am from the Department of History and Islamic Civilization. Since when you joined it, I may call it you joined it all, University of Sharjah. I joined it in 2018, you came 2019. I was from the day one friend with Steve. I called him always Steve. I never called him full name. I was his translator, you know. Every meeting we had in the college level, because we were in college, I was his translator because he was getting lost in translation, lacking the Arabic language, so I was in between all the time. And last time I spoke to him was one night before he passed away. He texted me around 11:45 evening. He said, I need to talk to you. And after a few seconds, he texted, oh, it is too late. And I replied to him, Steve, as long as my phone rings, I'm there, I'm alive. And next day I was going to the class with my student here. I was going to class and I saw an ambulance. And I had that feelings, very different. After the class, I came to know that he passed away. This is my personal, in short, you know, I cannot describe him, you know, he was humorous. The way you go to his Facebook, you can see the way how he loved his family in a humor way, he loved his family. I knew you in absence from that way, and the daughters. Academically speaking, he was head of department for, if I'm not mistaken, almost 3 years. And last year, W2, if you know W2, the buildings here, was going through renovation. And he did not have office, you know. As a head of department, he did not have office. I was head of Department of History and Islamic Civilization, and we have big office there, you know, and I offered him, I said, let's share the same office. Every day I will go to office early morning, I will see him. If you have been in canteens, cafeterias of the university, there are some small rooms, you know, like, you know, for privacy stuff. I would, if he was lucky, he would get one of them and he will do his official job there. So this shows how much he was dedicated, man. I will miss him. We'll with you, inshallah.
Thank
Forever.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now I'd like to give an opportunity for those who'd like to come on stage to talk about Dr. Stephen. If anyone would like to come and say a few words.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and good afternoon to all of you. First of all, my deep condolences to our dear Abby, our two lovely daughters, for their loss, the greatest loss that is always impossible to make up. It's very hard, in fact, for me to stand before you and talk about Stephen in his absence, that he's no longer with us. I had a very short period to be with him, about 3 months short of 2 years. He had been my head of department, but to be honest, reflecting my experience elsewhere, I never felt that he was a head of department. By head of department, we have the impression that a person is like a boss. I never felt that he was a boss. Rather, I felt that he was a brother, he was a friend. Very informal, very collegial, and very available, that I could approach to him anytime, anywhere. I concur with my other colleagues who spoke of him. He was a man of integrity, man of responsibility. He would, instead of commanding as head of the department, he would rather seek opinion from us. Instead of calling us to his office to discuss on issues, he would rather walk into our office, seek our opinion. That much of informality that he would maintain. It is very difficult for me to imagine, to talk about him, to talk of him here, while remembering the sweet afternoon that we met him and his family just about 2 days before he left us. Stephen left us June the 4th, Tuesday. And we had the occasion, me, myself, my wife, Dr. Farzana, our little daughter, Fariha, to have lunch with him at his place. This was not the first time to have lunch or dinner at his place. We went there. That was Tuesday. Sorry. That was Sunday before. We had a very sweet time that afternoon. Once we went there, we found our friend, Dr. Jason, there. We had a really lively moment, lovely moment to recall. It's hard for me to reflect on that time and that day, that was turning to be kind of last supper for us with him. There are so many things to talk about him. Honestly speaking, that, as I said earlier, I never felt him that he was my boss. He was more than that. Out of many, many that I can relate to you, I'll just speak of one. One day I was inside a classroom, about to finish the class. I got his phone call. I didn't receive. But 2 minutes later, I finished the class lecture, and then I called him back. The first thing he asked, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm in the classroom." Then he said, "Can you come to the office?" I said, "Sure. I'll come immediately." I said, No. Don't come to the office area before you talk to me outside the office. I said, "Is there anything, or is everything okay?" He said, "I'll tell you once you come in. I'll wait for you downstairs in the ground floor." I dropped to W2 to our office building. I was approaching the office. I forgot completely that he told me that he would be waiting for me in the ground floor. Suddenly, I looked to my right and saw Stephen was standing there. That really shocked me. What is it? I went there, approached him, and then he talked to me. And he told me what was happening. There was something he felt that he should tell me before I go to my office. Indeed, that was something serious, and I thanked him. But he said, "Be relaxed. Things are settled now." But later on, that day, the day after, and the day after, he would still update me on that event, that issue, that matter. That was something that I felt that he was not head of state, head of department only. He was a very much helping, very much protective, very much concerned about the colleagues that he was working with. And I'm sure all of our colleagues would have such and many other such experiences with him. Many things that I can tell about him, but of course, it's beyond my ability to describe all the good qualities that he had. I'm sure, even though it is very difficult for his wife, Abby, to daughters, lovely daughters, to bear the pain of his loss, but I'm sure they'll be strong enough. God will give them strength enough to bear the pain. Not only that, going beyond and carry the legacy of Stephen, that he was not for himself, he was for others. Thank you very much.
And now I'd like to call upon some of Dr. Stephen's students to share some of their words, starting with Faisal.
Good morning, everyone. Firstly, I'd like to give my condolences to Dr. Stephen's family. We're here today to remember a remarkable educator and the head of the International Relations Department. He wasn't only a professor, but he was also a mentor who genuinely believed in our abilities and encouraged us to achieve our very best. I had met Professor Stephen 2 years ago, just as I transferred departments and lost my academic journey. When I first spoke to him, I felt instantly welcomed in the department, and I was ecstatic when they told me he would be my academic advisor. As an advisor, his office was always open for advice or a quick chat on real-world politics or the politics of sci-fi worlds. He made a real difference in all of our personal lives and our academic lives. He would connect to the students on a very personal level, even making jokes with us on our WhatsApp groups, using Star Wars as the generational divide between us. So as we gather here today, I ask everyone to carry forward his commitment to education and his belief in our potential, and to strive to be as supportive to others as he was to us. Thank you, Professor, for your guidance and for your inspiration.
Hello, everyone. Uh, First of all, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Qamar Al-Assaf, and I'm a Master of International Relations student. I've been Dr. Stephen's student in my bachelor degree and in my master's degree as well, which is a huge privilege for me. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're gathered here today to honor and remember a remarkable person, our beloved professor, Dr. Stephen Louw, whose recent passing has deeply affected us and left an irreplaceable void in our hearts and minds. Professor Stephen was much more than an educator to us. He was a mentor, a guide, and an inspiration source to all who had the privilege of knowing him. His passion of knowledge and dedication to teaching was evident in every lecture, every discussion, and every moment he spent with us. Dr. Stephen was literally the backbone of the IR department. And beyond his academic brilliance, Dr. Stephen was a person of deep integrity and kindness. He saw potential in each one of us, often believed in ourselves, often believed in us more than we believed in ourselves. He has encouraged us to push boundaries, to think critically, and to pursue our dreams with unwavering determination. For all of us, Professor Stephen was a pillar of support. He offered guidance during time of uncertainty, celebrated our successes as if they were his own, and provided words of wisdom that will echo in our hearts forever. I'm sure that each one of us has found memories in Dr. Stephen's office, which was always open, a sanctuary of knowledge, and a place where we could find a listening ear and a thoughtful advice. His presence was a source of comfort and inspiration, and his absence is profoundly felt. As we reflect on the memories we've shared with Dr. Stephen, let us remember the laughter, the insightful conversations, and the moments of clarity and that change our perspectives. Let us honor his legacy by continuing to pursue excellence, by embracing the spirit of inquiry, and by nurturing the seeds of knowledge he planted within us. Dear Dr. Stephen, thank you for everything you have given to us. Your legacy will live in each one of us, and your spirit will be forever a guiding force in our lives. Rest in peace, knowing that you've made a difference and your memory will always be cherished. Thank you. Allow me to say a very final thing to Dr. Stephen's family. The loss is huge for us. We've lost a great father, a great colleague, and a great partner, honestly. And allow me just to share a very final thing. Maybe a few days ago, before Dr. Stephen have passed away, he was talking to me. He was telling me that he was so excited to attend my master's thesis discussion. So, inshallah, once I reach there, it will be from me to his soul, inshallah, and memory. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. First, I'd like to send my condolences to his family and to the department. Ladies and gentlemen, we gather here today to honor the remarkable individual, Dr. Stephen, who was not only a brilliant academic, but also a beloved professor, mentor, and a friend. As we stand here together in this moment of reflection, we are united in our grief, but also in our gratitude for having known such an extraordinary person. Dr. Stephen was more than just a professor. He was a beacon of knowledge, compassion, and inspiration. His dedication to his students and to his field was unparalleled. With every lecture, he brought a passion that was infectious, igniting curiosity and thirst for knowledge in all who had the privilege to attend his classes. He had the unique ability to make complex concepts accessible, turning confusion into clarity and inspiring us to strive for excellence. One of Dr. Stephen's greatest qualities was his unwavering belief in potential of his students. He saw something special in each of us, often before we see it in ourselves. He pushed us to go beyond our perceived limits, always encouraging us to think critically, to question, and to explore. His office door was always open and welcoming space where we could seek guidance and share ideas and find listening ear. In those moments, he was not just a teacher, but a mentor who cared deeply about our growth, both academically and personally. Dr. Stephen's contribution to his field were significant. It is his kindness and humanity that we will remember most. He approached every interaction with genuine warmth and sense of humanity. His colleagues respected him, his students adored him, and his friends cherished him. He had a way of making everyone feel valuable and important, leaving an incredible mark on every one of us. Today, I stand here before you with a heavy heart, carrying one of my few regrets in life. I had always intended to send an email for gratitude to Dr. Stephen after I completed my education. I wanted to thank him for his unwavering support, his invaluable teaching, and his profound impact in my life. But I procrastinated, thinking I had time, planning to send it to him after my internship. This experience has taught me that life is short, and we should not delay expressing our gratitude. I wish I had sent this email to him to show him my appreciation. As we remember Dr. Stephen, let us reflect on his favorite philosopher, Machiavelli. One of Machiavelli's famous quotes is, "It is better to be feared than loved." However, I completely disagree. It is love that gathered us here today. It is love that Dr. Stephen gave us that makes us adore him and appreciate him so much. It is love that makes us remember Dr. Stephen forever. In remembering Dr. Stephen, we celebrate a life well lived, filled with purpose and passion. His legacy is not only knowledge he imparted, but also in the life he touched and inspirations he left behind. As we move forward, let us carry with us a lesson he taught us, not just about our subjects or studies, but about integrity, perseverance, and most importantly, kindness. To honor Dr. Stephen is to commit to living by the principles he exemplified. Let us strive to be curious, to be compassionate, and to believe in the potential within ourselves and others. In doing so, we keep his spirit alive, ensuring that his impact continues to resonate in the world. As we say goodbye to our dear professor, mentor, and friend, let us take a moment to reflect on the gift he gave us. Dr. Stephen may no longer be with us in body, but his spirit, his teaching, and his love forever will remain with us forever. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to start off by saying Dr. Stevens' passing resonates deeply with me, especially as I look at his daughters today. Having lost my mom expectantly at 15, so to Dr. Stevens' daughters, Karen and Brianka. The loss of a parent is an indescribable feeling. And remember that the world that separates us from them isn't far away at all. It is located exactly in the chambers of your hearts. In every corner of this earth, you will find your Father's love. And no matter how far you travel, that love will always surround you. But also remember, where there was love, there will be grief. Because grief is the final act of loving somebody. It is the last translation of love that one can give to someone, and that lasts a lifetime. You cannot love and have grief separately. They complete one another. The grief will feel heavy, but it also has the capability of reminding you of them. In the most beautiful and purest of ways. There will come a day where you will befriend grief and become their lover, because the weight of grief is the weight of love. Embrace the love and care your Father has once given you, and let that be the force that drives you into a beautiful life, exactly with him in the chambers of your heart. Thank you.
In the name of God, the most merciful, the most gracious. Good afternoon, everyone. First things first, I'd like to thank everyone who's in this room who has attended to join and to attend the ceremony and the memorial for our late Dr. Stephen. The number of students who have joined hands today to make this memorial happen is a testament to the kindness that he has showed everyone. And the number of people that are in this auditorium shows enough how much he was a great person to all of us. I'd rather not talk about his life as a professor, but his life as a person. He was not only a professor to all of us, he was a mentor, he was a father, and he was a husband. A great one in all of those things. One of my favorite memories of Dr. Stephen were in his office, where I asked him, when or how fast will I be able to graduate? And he said, I'd rather you not rush yourself, because it would be very difficult for you. He worried about how well will I do. He didn't show me concern as a professor, but he showed me concern as a person. And when I gave him the reason, which was very valid, he agreed with me. And he told me that he would also wish for his kids to graduate as soon as possible so he could also stay at home with them. I have not more to say. Everyone has said enough. There are no words that could describe or express how great of a person that he was. On Tuesday, June 4th, his loss wasn't just for us. It was a loss to the entire world, to the entire community. It was a loss to the people who are yet to meet him. I wish that we all keep his memory safe and keep his memory alive with us through his teachings and through his family. Thank you, everyone.
I will always be grateful to Dr. Stephen Louw. May his soul rest in peace. Before I became an IR student, I studied medicine for a year and a semester, but sadly, it didn't work out. Deciding to change my major was an incredibly difficult decision. Dr. Stephen made this transition easier for me and supported me throughout my academic journey. I can confidently say that I am where I am today because of him. Those of you remember Dr. Stephen had this quote on his WhatsApp bio to convey a message about critical thinking and perception. The line, "It was a bright, cold day in April, and the strangeness and the clocks were striking 13, evokes a sense of strangeness within the ordinary, suggesting that things are not always as they seem." By highlighting this quote, Dr. Stephen have aimed to inspire others to question conventional wisdom, to delve deeper into issues, and to remain vigilant against accepting service level expectations or realities. It might have served as a reminder to continuously seek understanding and to approach life and learning with curiosity and perception. Today, as we reflect on the impact on Dr. Stephen had on our lives, we are reminded of his unwavering commitment to education and his profound influence on our personal and academic journeys. Legacy will live on in the countless lives he touched and the knowledge he imparted. Dr. Stephen may have no longer be with us in person. His spirit and teachings will continue to guide us. Let us honor his memory by carrying forward the lessons he taught us. Thank you.
And now a small message from Dr. Shaojin. I offer deep condolences to his family and lovely daughters. He is a great colleague with dedication, love, and professionalism. He was always respected and defended each faculty's interests and academic freedom. We had a long conversation about China's development model, and I recommended him to speak about in some of the scholarly conferences. It is a huge loss for us, such a great mind. We had a great deal with student affairs and activities. He had always tried to instruct and guide students for their academic and career success. He supported many students to find internships in companies, one of them in a Fortune Top 5 companies branch in Dubai. Minutes before his passing, he was in a phone with me to discuss the possibilities to help a student to get passing grade to graduate. As a friend, we shared similar hobbies like cycling and Asian food. We had plans to go cycling in the newly built Sharjah bike road. We had pleasure to go eating in Chinese cafes with our colleagues. All these will be remembered and cherished in our heart. I hope our colleagues, students, and friends will carry on his dedication, love, and memories wherever we are. Rest in peace, Dr. Stephen. And now I'd like to welcome Ms. Hala, who would also like to share a few words about Dr. Stephen.
Thank you all for coming. They say when someone has been dying while they are walking, it's often referred to the someone who continue to live their life and fulfill their responsibility with dignity and determination. It's with heavy heart that I say goodbye for your kindness, Dr. Stephen, and your wisdom and your endless support that I have touched my life in a way I can never fully express. You were more than head of the department and the colleagues. You were a mentor and a friend. I will forever remember the memories of your incredible generosity, like the time you cooked the delicious lasagna to my vegetarian daughter, and how you are giving your free time to helping all the department and all the students. Thank you for everything, Dr. Stephen. You will deeply be missed and never be forgotten. With all the respect and great gratitude to meet you. Thank you all for coming.
And now I'd like to welcome back on stage Priyanka, who would like to share the Lords of Prayer.
My dad was an Anglican Christian, and this prayer is taken from the Anglican Book of Common Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us for our trespasses, as we forgive them that trespasses against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
And now I'd like to call for a moment of silence to honor Dr. Stephen. We have created a slideshow to cherish the memories of our beloved Dr. Stephen that we'd like to share with all of you. And one of our ways that we would like to honor him is that in the slideshow, I'm not sure if many of you might know, but Dr. Stephen loved Pink Floyd. So we decided to use that as the background music. And one of our ways that we would like to honor him is that in the slideshow, I'm not sure if many of you might know, but Dr. I'd like to also, first of all, thank you all for coming here and for watching that. I'd like to also bring to your attention that we do have a guest book if you would like to leave a few words for the family. And now, I would like to welcome Mrs. Louw for the vote of thanks.
Dear special people, today as we gather to honor the life and memory of my beloved husband, Stephen, I am deeply grateful to each of you for joining us in the solemn yet loving occasion. Your presence here today is a source of great comfort and strength to me and our family. Your support and kindness during this challenging time have meant more to us than words can express. I want to extend my heartfelt thank you to everyone who has shared memories, stories, and reflections about Stephen. Your words have painted a vivid picture of the impact he had on all our lives and the legacy he leaves behind. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to the people who helped support me when I was alone. Dr. Fazana, Dr. Munir, Dr. Shamal, Dr. Abdul, Dr. Jason, Dr. Ali, Hala, and of course, Kate and Amy, who came from London for a few days. I would also like to thank Professor Hayek and the Chancellor for their kindness. I understand that you may not be used to our traditions, so I'm completely blown away by this memorial. The entire memorial was planned and executed by Stephen's beloved students. He adored you and saw you as his children. Your dedication and compassion have ensured that we can come together to celebrate Stephen's life in such a meaningful way. A huge thank you to the amazing team. To our friends and family who have supported us with gestures of kindness, meals, messages, and prayers. We are forever grateful. Your unwavering support has been a source of strength during this time of sorrow. As we navigate the journey of grief, let us hold onto the memories and love that Stephen shared with us. May his spirit continue to guide and inspire us all. Thank you once again for honoring Stephen with your presence and for sharing in the celebration of his remarkable life. Let us carry forward his legacy with grace and love, with deepest gratitude. Thank you.
I would like to now welcome you all to some hors d'oeuvres and refreshments that we have prepared for you outside. Thank you so much.